So, an internally displaced person is basically someone who has obviously been internally displaced through obviously backs of violence or war, conflict, other forms of pressure or persecution. They're forced from their homes, but they can't necessarily cross a border. And by virtue of not being able to cross a border, they can't apply for asylum. They don't necessarily sort of qualify per se for refugee status, even though they often would, were they able to get across the border and effectively apply for it. And so it's a category, and they still remain very much in a situation of risk because they're within the borders of those groups that are on the border of where they've been persecuted and forced to flee in the first place. So that's a big concern, particularly in this situation, related to Afghanistan, but really elsewhere around the world. And finally, I just point to the humanitarian parole situation. It's really important to recognize that a lot of them may apply for asylum, or they may, appeal to other humanitarian mechanisms to gain relief. But it's going to be very challenging for Afghans who come here under humanitarian parole to find the support. And this is why local engagement is so critical. It's not just an advocacy question, it's a local community kind of form of engagement of how do we, provide them a place to live, support, funding of some sort to help with food and clothing and education for children and that sort of thing. So it is actually, it's a substantial problem. The president, as I understand, has been put forth some requests for funding, and hopefully Congress will pick them up to provide support for these populations, but that remains to be seen.